All right, Jeff Hopros with me now on the Calgary Fitness Podcast. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking time to do this. I know that things have kind of slowed down with COVID, but I think that this is a good opportunity to sit down and chat because it's a good chance to say, hey, you know what? It's still a good time to really learn about your fitness and learn how to move that body a little bit differently. So first off, I want you to kind of introduce yourself. This is your platform. Tell people who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Well, I've served as many people as I possibly can get in front of me, and mostly hockey. I've done a lot of sports. Hockey pretty much would be what I'd call the bread and butter, but I do train people, general population, all the way from ages even 10 to 70, 75, I guess, would be my oldest client. And professional hockey players, all the way from guys that are in the NHL currently down to kids that are trying to, work their way up.
No way. That's so cool. I want to touch on the hockey just a little bit, but what's your background specifically and how did you get into hockey training?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I played, obviously, growing up, as many of us did. I played up till my last year junior. And then when I got out of it, I actually got into managing fitness stores. And then I had an opportunity through my brother to lead that industry and start training hockey players. And it just kind of steamrolled from there for, I guess now this past March would have been year 16.
Well, that's cool. So my background is the refereeing side of hockey. So I was a hockey referee for 17 years. We probably crossed paths at one point. I wouldn't doubt it, right? Because I did a lot of work. Yeah, like at that dome or something like that. We probably saw each other and just, but can you talk about some of the people that you've trained, or do you have to keep that kind of confidential?
No, that's no problem at all. Like I said, right. Well, currently, I would probably say the most popular name of someone I train is Braden Point with Tampa. I trained him for about, I guess, before this summer, it would have been probably year 11 or 12. Brandon Cozen, who's known very well locally because he played for the Hitmen and with the team that went to Memorial Cup. Carson Florinsky, he's currently with me. He's with the Flyers. There's all the way up. I've had, and they're mostly past 10, 15 years. Seems to be the same group of guys.
So it's funny. I want to tell you a story about Braden Point. So I used to referee that kid when he was in Bantam AAA and Midget AAA, and I watched him go up through the ranks as well. And I don't mean to brag or anything, but I remember one time he came in. He was a centerman at the time, and he came into the draw, and he was always, no matter what zone, he was waiting for the other centerman to get set up first, right? Or no, he would get set up before the other centerman would every single time, right? So the other centerman could read and kind of change his stick handle and so on and so forth. So I said, you know what? Read the linesman in that position and see how they're holding their puck and start to try to memorize their hand so that you can set up a little bit differently. So anyways, that's my Braden Point story. It's my claim to fame.
Well, it's all seeming to work. Whatever he's doing is working.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see some of the Calgary kids make it into the big leagues. Like I remember I used to referee Matt Dumba, Josh Morrissey, it's so cool to see, those Calgary kids like Carson getting into the league as well. And I mean, it's just, as a referee, you don't like to cheer for them when you're on the ice, but to see them excel and see them grow and see them develop, like that's a big deal.
I think that's what's for my job. That's easily the most rewarding thing. It's not necessarily seeing them get all the way to the NHL, but it's seeing anyone go from when they're 11, 12 years old and just seeing where they are 10, 15 years later.
So let's take this aside right now. If there are parents listening right now with preteens, teenagers, adolescents in the sport right now, I know we're not playing, I get it, but if they're hoping to perhaps get their kid to a higher echelon or to, just play to play at their top level, I guess, what are some tips that they can do at home right now to stay in hockey shape, to train while not playing?
See, and that's basically, like I said, it's been that way for basically 2 months for me now, where I'm sending programs every morning to anyone that wants them. And it doesn't really matter what equipment you have at home. Like some people have nothing, some people have something, some people have a ton. Really, it's just getting moving. The motivations, obviously, that's hard right now. Everyone's having a struggle with that. but just get moving. There's tons of exercises you can do. And yeah, basically just stick to something. It gives you a routine more than anything. Is just like, hey, I've got a workout to do.
And I think that's a lot. It's really important too. When the kids aren't at school, you know, parents are busy. It's a weird time right now, but you just hit the nail on the head right there to say, you do have to just get moving. Because a lot of people will think, well, I need to be on the ice and I need to be practicing my stick drills and my skating drills and forward and backward and so on and so forth. But this is a good time to really just focus on movement, focus on proper movements right now, and, you know, go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's all based, and that's something that I've actually worked on and learned a lot in the last 3-4 years is how important just movement patterns are. Because you see the constant groin injuries, the hip injuries. People just don't know how to move. So as long as you're getting proper movement, there doesn't need to be a ton of weight behind you. It's just learning to actually move properly.
And let's put a little perspective on this too. This is the time of year right now where hockey players are more susceptible. I mean, I'm going to put that in air quotes, but they're more susceptible to perhaps injuries because we're getting into the playoffs. If the season was still around, we're getting into late stage playoffs right now. And this is the point where you are going at a higher level right now and perhaps pushing through pain, pushing through injury. So it's a good opportunity at this point to really learn about your body and just train a little bit differently.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's an excellent opportunity. And like you said, we don't know if hockey's coming back or like the NHL's coming back. But it's giving these guys a lot of opportunity to learn different movements, learn about their body, and get rested. They're not like this time of year. Normally, I'm like, okay, May long weekend's about to hit. We're going to kill these guys. Well, now there's no date we're really training for, right? Like it's not like, hey, we got to be ready for camp on this date. Now we're just being like, hey, we just have to be ready.
And I think that's, yeah, don't put a deadline on it too, right? Because then that's like, well, I need to be in this shape by this date. I mean, we don't even know if hockey's coming back for the NHL at this point this season. So it could not even be until next season. We just don't know. So it's important to just learn a little bit more about your body. So I think that that's a good point. I want to know a little bit more about Jeff. Okay, so who is Jeff? Are you married? Do you have kids? Like, what? Tell me a little bit about you.
I've had a same girlfriend for quite a long time. I don't have any kids. Really, I've been working with the same company for 16 years, training. So there's not a lot that changes with me, actually. There's not a lot that pretty much my work is what I do. You know, when you run into someone like in the mall and they're like, hey, what's new? I'm the guy that literally will just say, nothing ever changes.
And you know what? I love that you said that too, because we can almost relate that to training itself, right? As long as you focus on the same old, you know, custom moves, and there's certain movement patterns that you want to adhere to every time. I love hearing that because a lot of people are like, they love changing so much, but at the same time, I'm going to guess that you would be up to the principle, like, as long as you're following specific movement patterns, like you're set up for success.
Well, it is very much like that. But at the same time, it evolves, right? Like you'll get some people who just are like tried and true, which is fine. I'm going to stick to what I do. I know it works. You've seen the game evolve, so the training has to evolve with it. There's a reason now that there's 5'7" guys that are flourishing in the NHL. The game's changed so much that the weight room, not just the weight room, but all the exercise has to change with it.
I want to talk about that. So how, like, I'm going to guess, I'm just guessing here, but I'm going to guess there's a lot more plyometric training that's involved in it, or explain some of the changes.
I think the biggest change I've seen is it used to be you'd get the guy who'd come to the gym, and I don't mean to pick on the small guy, but the guy who's say is 5'6", 5'7", it's like, I got to gain weight. And that was forced on them and it still is, where the first thing a scout's going to look at is height and weight. So it used to be, I got to gain 20 pounds this summer. Now it's gotten to the point where it's just like, I got to get stronger. I don't care if I weigh more. If I'm going to go in the corner, I got to come out with the puck. That doesn't mean you have to be 220 pounds. You just have to be stronger. As far as like Crosby's the guy that really brought it in, was the core stability. Forsberg maybe before him. But now you're seeing every player, your core it's the key to your fitness.
How do you train? I mean, it's probably going to change client to client, but I want to know some exercises that you train hockey players specifically to get a stronger core?
I think the big part, and it's hard to do from standing in front of them, say, is making them engage their core through every exercise. So say when you're doing, let's just say a squat, it's a front squat instead of a back squat. So you have to engage your core. You don't have a choice. But even say you're doing any type of press, you're engaging your core. So it doesn't mean you lie down and do 10 minutes of just ab exercises. You're engaging your core throughout your entire workout. The weight that you're pushing will go down a little bit, but you'll be definitely stronger for it.
So let's talk about that a little bit too. I want to know, how do you cue someone to engage their core? What's the process there?
It varies per exercise, and it's really getting them to breathe, which is something that I've really had to work on even in my own workouts, is getting them to breathe and asking them and reminding them. Cue is the perfect way to put it. And it's almost like you're just asking them, are you engaging your core?
Awesome. And I love that you mentioned lighter weights too, because a lot of times you see on Instagram where it's like, oh, my highlight reel, look how heavy I, did a power clean, or, check this out. Look how heavy I benched, right? But it's not about that. Like, we could talk about the chest press all day, but are you throwing up the weights 1-to-1 tempo the entire time? Or are you focusing on, stretching that muscle as you come down and then really squeezing the shit out of it when you come back up as well?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that, because that's something that I've really focused on almost more recent than anything, is like time under tension is basically you are working your muscles through the entire workout. Sure, you're not going to any longer be benching 225 pounds, but you're going to be doing it properly and you're going to work the right muscles.
What about box jumps? How do you feel about box jumps?
I use them. I use them for my clients. I don't do them myself. It's an explosive exercise. Explosions is always going to be part of sports, any sport. I don't do definitely not high reps on them, because you have to be safe, right? And the two of my biggest fears every single time in a gym is someone's Achilles tendon or someone's knee. So I don't use them to exhaustion, because then you're not working on power. You're just jumping.
Yeah. So talk about reps. Would you do like 3 to 5, 6 to 8, or is it kind of varying on the day?
It totally varies on the day. But I would say you'd be looking at anywhere. A lot of my exercises are usually anywhere from 5 to 10. Mm-hmm. There is the odd day that we'll do more of a cardio thing, but in that case, it wouldn't be a high box jump, but it would be low. Yeah. And I never really go high. I've had guys that could do a 6-foot box jump, but I don't do that anymore.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think, when you're jumping up at 6 feet, what is the landing like when they get to the top, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And like the combine still uses it and everything. So yeah, you have to do some jumping, but yeah, it's definitely not a focus anymore.
Totally. Now, you mentioned that you've been working with the same company for 16 years. Are you okay to name that company and talk about what they do?
Yeah, it used to be NSD, National Sports Development. And then they rebranded more to just try and get a different clientele base in, and it's called Big Sky Fitness. And there's 3 locations in the city, but it would be more of it's not sports specific at all anymore. Okay,
well, that's good to know. With it being shut down right now, and I'm sorry that that's happened, but I do want to talk a little bit about at-home training itself. I mean, not a lot of people have a squat rack or TRX or anything to that capacity. But say, for example, someone had just a set of dumbbells, right? And maybe we'll say they're, 20 pounds. Let's say they're 20-pound dumbbells. What is a program that I mean, this is going to be totally specific too, but what kind of exercises would you go to? Like, what are your go-to at-home exercises right now?
And it's funny, I'm glad you chose 20 pounds, because I do every morning, I send any of my past clients that want them, I send them a workout for the day. And I do have guys who literally have just 20-pound dumbbells. It doesn't really vary their workouts too much. It goes back to what we were talking about, time under tension. Their rep range is obviously going to go up, because you still want them to be failing at the end of their sets. But bench press, sure. Don't have a bench, but you have a ground. You can use the ground for bench. So your upper bodies, you can still do all your rows. You can do your shoulders. You can do squats, you can do split squats. Split squats and lunges would probably be what I would consider my go-to. And hip thrusts, which is something that's hockey players have to do anyways. And if it's done properly, you don't need the weight.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people too. You know, at-home exercises don't need to be like, sorry, let me put it this way. The gym doesn't need to be placed on a pedestal as high as it is sometimes too, right? And I think that goes back to when we spoke about at the beginning, right? We are using this time to learn a little bit more about what we can do with our bodies. And when you have professionals like yourself helping them through that, I think that's amazing, right? It's just to learn.
Well, and the one thing that I am really miss about it is you send these workouts and you have to put some faith, and it's really easy with hockey players that they're doing it right. Like with form, and that's what I find is the real challenge right now, is getting their form right. With hockey players, they've done all this. They know it. There's very few times where they're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It's with the general population, you find it a lot harder, where you want their form to be dead on and you're just kind of hoping they're doing it right.
And I think at this time too, it's got to be fun. It has to be something that they're excited about to do, right? Because I don't know about you, but here's an exercise. Geez, I'm trying to think of an exercise that I really struggle with.
How about a step up?
Step ups, thank you. Right. And even a lateral step up or something like that, or a side lunge or something. Like, I'm not super excited to do those ones. So making it fun, I think that's a skill as well too.
Well, it's funny you said the reason I chose step up is because when I type that, I think probably about 70% of the time I send that exercise isn't going to get done.
And that's the funny thing too. And the funny thing about step ups too is, like, even if you don't have a table, a chair, or anything like that, like, use your stairs in your house, go out on your front porch, like, quick and easy. I think a lot of people think that, it needs to be a high table and it needs to be, 18 inches in height. It really doesn't. I mean, as long as you're moving the body and stepping up those stairs, like, that's just fine as well.
Yeah, like, I'll put in brackets, activate your glutes, but I'll put it basically just saying squeeze your butt. But yeah, I just put in brackets on those things, and I do get the odd text back being like, what the hell is this exercise? But that's where either I send a picture, a video, or obviously Google kind of helps too.
So talk about your training yourself. I mean, you probably haven't been able to go to a gym or the gym or anything like that. So how are you training specifically?
Well, it was actually kind of funny because when this first hit, it was kind of like, wow, what are we going to do? Like, just in general with clients, ourselves, and everyone was in the same boat. And I was joining my girlfriend doing this unbelievable, no one would believe I was doing them, barbell classes, other companies' online classes, and just following those. And I probably did that for the first month.
Now, can I cut in here? When you say barbell classes, like, you don't mean the barbell with plates on either side. Like, you mean BELLE.
BARRE.
Yeah. So you're doing new things that you haven't done before, and
yeah, and it was that part. And then, like you said, it had to be fun. I enjoyed it. I was unbelievably sore because those are muscles that I've never worked. But then I was fortunate. One of my clients, he was able to build a home gym, so I've been able to go in and work out at his home gym. So that's at least changed.
Well, that's positive. That's something to be excited about.
But and at the same, I got a park right over here, so there's a good hill. So hill runs, and again, go back to body weight squats and body weight lunges, and so there's so many options.
I want to talk a little bit about COVID itself. I mean, you haven't been able to go to the gym or anything like that and train people, but I want to know, how do you think that this has changed training moving forward? Like, do you think we're ever going to have to have one-on-one training again?
I think you're going to see one-on-one and small group training will come back. Well, it'll bounce back for sure. By small group, I mean, you're talking probably 2 to 4. I don't think you'd have more than 4. And you look, I don't know if you've seen, but like Good Life talked about how their reopening strategy when they can. They're talking about you phone ahead or you book ahead almost like you're booking a tea time. And this isn't with trainers. This is just to use their gym. where you pick a time slot, and there's no more than 10 people allowed in their gym at a time. So I think, yeah, the boutique gyms, that's what we're used to. We're used to a smaller amount of people. So I think the personal training will bounce back. I think the biggest changes you're going to see is you're going to get a lot of online programming. So people say, book with me. Here's a program. I'll take you through it. We'll do a few sessions, but then they're going to be on their own, and I'll see you in a few weeks.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing in your opinion?
I personally, I love the day-to-day. I love being there for, say, 8 to 10 hours, and you see a group of people. Like, that's this time of year is what I thrive on. This is what I look forward to. But at the same time, the fact that they're still going to be getting programs, at least that's a good thing. Watching people's form and making sure everything's correct, that's going to be the hard thing.
So I want to know, like, are you going to do a hybrid modality yourself, or do you think that once things reopen, you're hoping that it goes back to normal, or what are your thoughts?
I think it'll be a hybrid. My hope, obviously, is it goes back to, well, somewhat normal. But it'll definitely be a hybrid, which is kind of what we are anyways. I do online programming and send people programs. But I think, like, for me, say a gym, if you're only allowed to have 10 people in, there's times I have 10 of my own people in at one time. So I'm going to have to either make my groups a heck of a lot smaller, or I'm going to have a lot of people who are just like, you know what, I bought all this equipment for home, so I need a program.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time too. And I think a lot of trainers right now are kind of learning what they're capable of, right? Because, you know, it's one thing to go in a studio and have a schedule throughout the day, XYZ, but when you're trying to do online stuff, it's a completely different, you know, scenario.
Oh, and me, like, there's not a lot of technical savvy behind me. So it is literally learning. Like online courses, like I took a TRX course. I never thought I would do that either. But I think you're going to have to add a lot to your resume over the next, well, who knows how many months.
And what was your biggest, or what has been your biggest highlight so far in terms of, you know, staying at home and working out from home and training clients? Like, have you had a big highlight from COVID?
It's a funny question, because when you think highlight in COVID, that's just not a thing. I don't know. I think it's the fact that an overall highlight would just be that I'm still in touch with everyone. I hear from everyone every day. I text with them every day. I send them a program. They reply. So there's still, I'd say the highlight of this is similar to what my highlight is every year being in the gym, is I still have 35, 40 guys that I'm in contact with every day.
Beauty, Jeff. This was great. This was fantastic. It's nice to see, and it's nice to chat with someone who is in the hockey world, because that's where I was for almost 20 years. And it's a really special place in my heart. If people want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Well, I don't even have my Twitter account handy right now, so I'm going to probably put that on you.
Okay, hang on. I've got it right here, pulling it up right now. Okay, it is HopeRoss1. HopeRoss01 is where you can find his Twitter handle.
And then, then there's Instagram, which is just JJ HopeRoss.
Great.
And
perfect.
That's about it for my social media, unless you want a Facebook. That's an easy one to Google.
Yeah, just Jeff. And there's a dash between Hope and Ross, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Anything else that you wanted to chat about here, my friend?
No, I appreciate it. And like you said, it's nice to talk hockey when we don't know what's going on, but everyone's in the same boat. We're all unsure of what's going on for a long time. So
totally. And I guess I'll throw this in, like, how do you see the future of hockey?
I think it's funny. I talk to these players, and it's just like they're as in the dark right now as we are. They have no idea. I don't know. Like, some teams are planning on 5,000 seat arena. Other teams haven't even broached the subject. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see, and we're not going to see fans for a long time. But I think we will see a season this year.
You do?
I have a feeling we will. I think it's a ways away still.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the media. You see all these reports and you see all these rumors and everything like that. So one thing I saw was that there will be no playoffs, but they do want to give out a Stanley Cup. So what it would look like is they play a final round. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how that looks. Like, do they pick the 2 teams with the highest standing? Like, I don't even know how that would work.
Yeah, I think they're gonna, and that's the other thing is how do you finish the regular season when you've got a handful of teams where they're already out of it, and why would these guys come back and play 7 games when they're already done anyways?
It's unreal. And another thing I saw with minor hockey too was like, and I think that's where it gets really interesting, is I saw like a rumor, and this isn't out of Calgary. This was, I could have even been out of the States. I don't recall where it was from, but they said minor hockey itself may go without the parents in the stands. Like, what do you think about that?
I've heard that too, and to be, I could get shot for it, but in a lot of cases, that would be a good thing. Like, the way that parents are pushing them, sometimes it wouldn't be bad to not have them in the stands.
Oh, Jeff, I think I lost you here. Your audio.
Okay.
Jeff?
Yeah.
I cannot hear you, my friend. I apologize about that. But we'll leave it there. Jeff, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I'll shoot you a message on email, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, bye.